And welcome to the Legally Invested Show with Francesca Witzberg. Today, we're going to talk about is trademark real estate dwindling? And those are two terms that you've probably never seen together, trademarks and real estate. And I will explain the analogy. But before I do, I want to tell everyone the big why of why we do this show. And the purpose of this show is to discuss how intellectual property can be used for any business, whether big, small, talent, content creators, and how they can use intellectual property to invest in their businesses, invest in themselves, but also to create wealth. And we're going to be bringing on real people who have built successful businesses, basically by harnessing the power of intellectual property and building the life of their dreams. So, super excited to talk about this topic today because it's something that it keeps coming up, and I'm personally seeing it. So, there was an article that was written a couple years ago about how there are only a finite amount of words in the English language, and that those words were actually being used up as trademarks. So it got me thinking, what else is finite? Real estate. So this is an analogy I use for a lot of my clients and it's the same thing with domain names, right? There's only a certain amount of English speaking words that you can use for domain names. Yes, of course, I am acknowledging the fact that you could always tweak things and change them, especially for domain names. You just talking about .coms, not getting into .co, .biz. You can always add like a hyphen and another word, but with trademarks, this is trickier because a lot of clients will come to me and say, well, I found a mark that is the blank firm, exact same mark, but we're not using the word firm at the end. We're using collective. And the reality is, under trademark law, those marks are highly similar, if not legally identical, because those descriptive terms don't do much. So whereas in the domain name land, and also corporate land, the question is, has someone taken the exact spelling yet? But trademarks is very different. It doesn't matter if it's the exact spelling, as long as the marks are highly similar in sight, sound, and meaning, if they're phonetically similar, and all the other factors. But just for the purposes of what we're talking about today, you could have a problem. So because of that like unique, that unique factor that marks don't have to be identical to be confusingly similar, and more people are starting to register. The USPTO said that there was a 60% increase in filings. Why is this happening? I'm definitely going to do a talk on this once I dig in and get some more research. But very high level, I think why it's happening, from what I've read surface level, is that more and more people are home starting online businesses. With the Great Resignation, people are starting businesses, and that's a big chunk of the business that I have been working on this year, helping online entrepreneurs, online businesses get started with their first main trademark or their first main brand. And so we're seeing a shift. Like, IP is no longer just for the Fortune 500 companies. If you have an online presence and you're playing the game, you're playing the rules of the game. You have to have your ducks in a row. Saying I didn't know, sorry, I'm infringing your mark, but I didn't know, is not an excuse anymore. So we are seeing more and more small businesses entering this market, or even not even small businesses. I'm seeing 7-figure entrepreneurs and scaling companies that have 15 plus employees that maybe only filed for one trademark for the past 10 years, that are now starting to protect their intellectual property because everything is so online. Also, the trademark office is seeing an influx from all of the Amazon sellers, and my firm Loza & Loza is actually one of the 11 firms that Amazon selected to be a part of the IP Accelerator program to help small businesses register their marks online and get early access to brand registry. So basically with an application. So that is because Amazon requires having a registration, or at least having a firm through the IP Accelerator program file your trademarks to get early access to brand registry. You need to have brand registry and enroll your brand in order to enforce your rights. So with that, everyone's scrambling to register their trademarks. I think those are just like the two main observations. Again, I'll do something specific on that. So, but what's the consequence of that? The consequence is that names are hard to come by. Personally speaking, I like to name my programs. I like to name my my new show, Legally Invested. It took forever to come up with a name, because not just because I needed to find one that I liked, but I had a list of 50 plus names, narrowed it down to about 5. And as I was going down the list, I realized, okay, checked USPTO. That one's taken already. Checked USPTO for the second one. That one's taken. For the third one, a very similar mark, not the exact same mark, but a very similar mark. And so essentially it's taken. And I went down to not one of my top choices, but I actually love this name now because of the messaging and I think like what it connotes. But really, like, names are hard to come by on the register now. So because of that consequence, it's really important for businesses to invest in their trademarks early and now, because just like the .com, it was easy 10, 15 years ago to get some of these .coms. Now you may be paying 10 grand plus to get some of your names. So don't do that. Invest early, just secure the rights. I'm happy to chat with anyone if anyone has questions, but this concept is real. As we've seen with the real estate market, inventory, at least on the East Coast, I think this is a national phenomenon now. There's not a lot of inventory, especially in the New York and New Jersey area where I'm from, which means when there's not a lot of supply and high demand, prices increase. So just with that, I encourage everyone to invest in your names early, avoid potential litigation, and just get your peace of mind. If anyone has questions, like I said, you can DM me. Otherwise, I'm going to hop off. This is the Legally Invested Show with Francesca Witzberg. Thank you all. Have an amazing Friday. I'm so happy it's Friday, and I will catch you all on Monday.